I wanna be where the people are. I wanna hear 'em nitpick. Why? I have been waiting to use that intro for so friggin' long. I kept having to bounce this stuff back. So, nitpick rant time. And this one hurts to do, but I do need to talk about it. Because The Little Mermaid is my nostalgic favorite Disney movie. And that actually, depending on how much you know about me or whether you're stumbling across this video randomly, should not come as a huge surprise. Because given, my own sort of personal sense of gender, the fact that it doesn't stay put, this has become very well adopted as a highly functional trans narrative. Given Ariel's, you could say she did it for a guy. Eric was the tipping point. Really, from the beginning, she feels like she belongs in another world. She belongs there. She should be something else than she is. And she's willing to go to some potentially self-destructive lengths to do that. And even though maybe she didn't go about it in the best way, that still is where she belongs. It works really well through that interpretation. I seriously doubt it was the original intentional interpretation of the thing, but it works really well, and it probably did connect to that part of me, even at a young age. And I've always loved Ariel. I love the music. Part of Your World, the reprise, specifically, I think is possibly my favorite Disney song of all time. Ursula is one of the best, if not the best villains. I'll do a Disney villains list at some point, but there is a problem that I have with this movie, and I gotta talk about it. And the thing is, it happens towards the very end, and I considered actually filing this under good movie, bad ending, except that I don't think it sinks the movie the way that my entries in that list do, but it is a problem. So, various people, as has often been the case with Disney princess movies, have brought up various things that bother them over time. The fact that Ariel is 16. Yeah, at this point in time, that is a little bit annoying. 18 would have been better, and it would have still worked. But, the fact that she's 16, the fact that she is doing something so reckless, and some people will claim that the takeaway message is completely change yourself and throw your life away for the sake of love. Again, I don't really feel that that's it, because I do stand by my interpretation that Eric's just the tipping point, but I get where some people get frustrated with that. For me, the problem is at the end. It has to do with the final confrontation with Ursula. Now, Ariel has to be saved by other characters twice in rapid succession. Initially by her father, and then by Eric. Now, Disney princesses needing to get rescued, that's not exactly new. I mean, that's kind of goes back to the beginning of Disney. Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. Even the more recent stuff. Jasmine had to be rescued in Aladdin. It's all over the place. Cinderella, got saved by the mice. But there's a difference here versus those other instances of princesses being saved, which is that all of those other ones had the circumstances that they needed to be saved from sort of thrust upon them, usually by the villain. Here, while Ursula has certainly manipulated and taken advantage of Ariel, Ariel's choices, her relatively well-informed choices, are what sparked this whole thing off. So she's in a situation of her own making, and she really has absolutely no part in getting herself out of it. And that I do think is a problem. The biggest part that she has in defeating Ursula is yanking Ursula's hair back when she's getting ready to blast Eric, so that she ends up hitting her pet eels instead. And that's certainly helpful, and if you want to make the argument and backtrack the fact that Eric ultimately is the one who kills Ursula, that he wouldn't have been able to do that if Ariel hadn't saved him. Yes, But there's still enough left in the final confrontation that Ariel has absolutely no part in, that I feel like it's not enough. So Ursula uses the power of the trident. She gets huge. It's iconic. It's amazing. And she just starts taking pot shots at Ariel and getting ready to completely wipe her out. And Eric, being a sailor, well established as a skill, we know he can do this, gets on board what had been a sunken ship that Ursula has raised, and steers it so that the masthead skewers her, and she dies. It's actually a really awesome villain death. One of the more brutal ones, too. But Ariel takes absolutely no part in that. And it's not that I would have expected Ariel to get on the ship and actually be the one to run Ursula through, but just something. Some acknowledgement. Some part of it. Like, off the top of my head, what I tend to think is, if Ariel could have noticed what Eric was doing and stalled or distracted Ursula in some way, taunted her to buy a little time and make sure her focus was on her and she doesn't see what's coming, even that would have been something. It would have made her an active instead of a passive participant in the defeating of the villain. Because there's something incredibly frustrating about a character making choices that endanger herself, her father, her love interest, her friends, and she doesn't fix it, somebody else does. She comes in and through a desire to fill her own wishes, breaks everything, and somebody else comes in and just buys new stuff. I do feel that Ariel does still grow as a character. She does learn lessons, but the fact that the level of endangerment she puts herself and those around her in, the fact that there's basically no consequences to that, and she's rescued out of it by it. Not that this is the problem, but it doesn't help. Two guys, daddy and then boyfriend. It's really unbefitting the hero character. And, I get why it happened. They wanted a big action defeat, and Ariel isn't an action hero. She's an emotional hero. But just some relevance in it, because it's become one of those things that sours my rewatch a little bit. Watching her just stare up at Ursula all waiting to get killed. I mean, yes, she dodges a couple, but at the very end, she's just waiting to get obliterated until Eric saves her. And I feel it's a shame. Just some parts so that she doesn't just lose any participation in the conclusion. Now, I do think the movie bounces back after that because the emotional resonance of what happens between her and her father at the very end rings incredibly true, and I think pulls the whole movie out of what could have otherwise been a spiral, because Ursula was not the only conflict. The other conflict was Ariel and her father, and that one is between her. It does focus on her, and what she helped him realize about her is what drives his decision to grant her being human. So even though she's not active in the sense of it's not like she begs him and he finally gives in, what she has done and shown and demonstrated to him through her actions does drive that final resolution of the other major conflict. And I do feel that saves the movie, and that's why this is a nitpick rant instead of being a good movie, bad ending. But yeah, and like I said, it annoys me. I can't say that it's still my favorite Disney movie, but it is my nostalgic favorite. It is the one that I liked the most as a kid. There's no question about that. And sort of having this on it, it's frustrating. Any case, Ariel and her lack of participation in defeating the villain in The Little Mermaid. Frustrates the heck out of me. This is one little thing. It wouldn't have taken that much to just get her there and make her active, and they didn't do it. And it's one aspect of an otherwise amazing film that just drives me a little bit nuts. So, what are your thoughts on this? Whatever they are, or if you want to share another Disney animated film that you've got a nitpick on, that works too. Drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. A whole bunch of stuff to do down there because buttons and links, one to the Patreon. Help is appreciated. Plus a whole bunch of other stuff. Check it out. See what I've got going on. Or if you don't want to, that's okay too. Because at the end of the day, you're the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.